This is the big week where American consumerism goes into overdrive, or maybe a sunnier way to put that is the magic of the holiday shopping season will be upon us in a few days. Whichever way you look at it, plenty of that may include technology for the people on your gift list. And here to discuss what tech gifts might be hot this season and other big news in technology, we talk every month with Dwight Silverman, a columnist for the Houston Chronicle. Dwight, good morning.
Good morning.
We welcome your questions and comments as well in the conversation. You can call or text 713-440-8870, or you can email us, talk@houstonmatters.org, or comment in our live stream on the Houston Public Media YouTube channel. Speaking of technology, we're there now. Okay, so getting a sense of any particular tech or types of tech are you that, will be hot this season?
Well, it's, one of the things that happens is a lot of tech companies towards the end of the year, going into summer and early fall, release a slew of things. And so there's always a lot of things to choose from. If you have the cash and you're a gamer, this year probably the hottest thing is the Nintendo Switch 2, which is the follow-up to the original Nintendo Switch, which its breakthrough was essentially putting a pair of controllers on either side of a wide screen and, playing your games like that, or you could break them off and use it on a bigger screen. And this kind of continues that. Not all games are backwards compatible from the Switch to the Switch 2, but it is a really hot device right now. Sells for about $450, $460. You might be able to find a deal out there, but it's one of those things, where it really isn't going to be that hot.
I thought you were going to say you might be able to find one. Sometimes those things
right.
Are
I should have stopped there, right? I should have just stopped there.
Yeah, sometimes those are hard to come by.
Yes. One of the things that happened, in September and October, Apple releases its products. One of the really interesting things about this year's iPhones is that typically the low-end numbered phone, like this year the iPhone 17, is usually good, very good, but not as good as the Pro phones. This year, a lot of the features that have been in Pro phones are now in the iPhone 17, and for most people, this is probably the best iPhone to buy. The Pro models have better cameras, and particularly the Pro Max has much more storage, but the 17 is a real sweet spot. And if you're interested in deals on that, your carrier, a lot of carriers use the iPhone 17 as a loss leader, and you can get some pretty good deals from your carriers on that. The same thing is true with Google's Pixel line. They released the Pixel 10 this year. There's the 10 and the Pro XL. And in these cases, the 10 is actually a really good phone. And a little tip, the 9A released last year, which is their budget phone, is also a really good phone and also can be found for a lot of good deals.
Lots of deals this time of year. And you wrote this weekend about a new Android phone from OnePlus. What should people know about that, and what did you think of the latest model?
So I'm a big fan of OnePlus. I'm an iPhone user, but I really admire what OnePlus does. They tend to bring in flagship features at lower prices. They also have had, until this one, a very unique looking design. So this
brought in some visual aids for our
yes,
YouTube
I did.
audience.
I did for those on YouTube.
You're always good for visual aid. I like that.
So this is the OnePlus 13. This was released in January. OnePlus is a Chinese company, and it is trying to align its release schedule with what it does in China. So this is a flagship phone. It's a great phone. This kind of what's called the dinner plate camera bump is very unique to it. I was on a plane earlier this month and saw a woman coming down the aisle on her phone, and it was a OnePlus, and it's very, very recognizable. This is the OnePlus 15, which was just released, isn't for sale yet in the U.S. because it was launched when the government shutdown was going on and the FCC hasn't approved it yet. So they're waiting for that. Once it is, it'll be for sale. But what does that look like to you?
Yeah, very iPhone-like.
Yes. And so they've changed the design. It's kind of more generic. It has a much more powerful processor. It's got a beautiful screen, and some of the internals are designed for mobile gaming. This is probably one of the best phones for gaming right now. The display has a 165 hertz refresh rate when gaming. That's amazing. The battery is huge. I've gotten close to 3 days in testing this, but the cameras aren't as good. There's some other issues about it, and the design is just kind of eh. So I would say if you're interested in a OnePlus phone and you want something that's more well-rounded, the 13 is still out there and still available. If you're a gamer, this would be a great phone.
Yeah, it's interesting. All this technology in phones included so many specific, things to know. Like, hey, this is a great phone if you are using this and not interested in that, or vice versa, or whatever the
and that's like the case, for example, with the iPhone Air, which was the super slim phone that Apple introduced. When you hold one, it's just amazing. It's great to hold, but it only has one camera. The battery is smaller. In fact, they introduced a clamp-on external battery just for it. And it is not sold well. It's not done very well. And there are rumors that they're holding off on a second version of it.
This is Houston Matters. I'm Michael Haggerty. We're discussing the latest developments in consumer technology with Houston Chronicle tech columnist Dwight Silverman. And if you have a question or comment, we still got a few minutes. Email us, talk@houstonmatters.org, or you can call or text 713-440-8870. You recently wrote that you've been kind of rethinking a stance you had on when you should install software updates on a computer and when you should wait. What did you used to think, and what changed to now? What are you thinking?
I've always been a proponent of, when you get a software update for a device, particularly one that you use and rely on every day, you should install it as soon as you can, mainly for security reasons. There are also features you may want. And in a lot of cases, when you do this, particularly if you have an older device, it's possible that it could slow down the device, and there may be other issues. But to me, it has been worth it to go ahead and do it, at the very least for security issues. Having seen what happened with iOS 26, which is the latest version of the software on iPhones, same with iPad OS, Mac OS, they all are now 26. Apple changed the numbering system so it relates to the year as opposed to the number of the version. They changed the design to use something called liquid glass, which has a lot of transparency and translucency, and people either love it or hate it. Apple has been refining it over the updates as they've gone along, but watching this roll out, and along with some various other things, for example, Microsoft released an update for Windows that bricked some solid-state drives on computers. No bueno. And so I'm kind of backing off a little bit on that. I think that security is still an issue, particularly on PCs, less so on iPhones. Definitely on Android, it remains a security issue. There's a lot of Android malware out there. But I think it is best probably to sit back, depending on how you use the phone, and wait several weeks to maybe a couple of months before you install a major update.
Sometimes it feels like there's never a good time. I mean, this laptop right here was just asking me to update earlier, and I'm like, hey, I got to host a radio show here.
Yes, right.
I don't have all day to sit around and wait for that spinning wheel, that progress bar or whatever. But lastly, let's get to I wanted to get to this sooner, but because it was big news, but it was last week, the big Cloudflare outage last week. Some internet stuff went down. That was kind of one of the biggest tech stories in recent weeks. I mean, what caused it, and any lessons to take away from that for the rest of us?
Well, we were talking about updates. Often that happens because of an update. In this case, it was a log file that got too big in Cloudflare's system. And the problem is that the internet has evolved to the point that there are these services that big websites rely on so that their servers aren't hit directly, and either by attacks or what's known as edge computing allows the content that they have to go out to closer to where users are. Cloudflare is more of a security service. And in this case, companies that used Cloudflare suddenly were unreachable because of this. And a lot of businesses use it. So, for example, a lot of social media sites, X, formerly known as Twitter, Snapchat, was unavailable. Space City Weather, the weather blog that I help with, they also had difficulties because of this. And so it was big and small. What this points to is an issue of having single points of failure. That was the same thing that happened with the Amazon Web Services outage, earlier in the month. Is that when you rely on third parties to handle a critical part of your service, when they go down, you go down. I don't know what the answer to that is, but it is becoming an increasing problem as the internet becomes more sophisticated.
Yeah, it seems startling in this day when we become so much more, everything is so, relies on the internet so much, and these things they're just down, plug it in, plug.
There's a really good website when something goes down, and you're not able to get to something called Down Detector. And when you go to it, you get a list of sites where they're getting a lot of reports. And a lot of times when this happens, you can go and see all these big sites down. You can pretty much assume that one of these services is the culprit.
It all goes back to one point of...
That's right.
Yeah.
Single point of failure.
Something big went down that everybody's relying on. All right. Well, Dwight Silverman writes about consumer technology for the Houston Chronicle and joins us each month to discuss technology trends. Dwight, thanks, and happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you.